All right, so welcome to the No BS podcast. I'm your host, Liam, alongside with
Maria.
And today we got two new guests today. So this is the first time we've ever had two guests on at once. So this is a very cool opportunity.
Yeah.
So we got Zach and Stephanie, husband, wife, business owner, father, mother, a little bit of everything. And today we're going to go through their story, how they started out, how they met each other, how they started their business, and then what kind of balance they've been able to find with now having a son from also managing a business. So why don't we start out? Why don't you guys go a little brief background on the two of you?
Okay. So let's see. We should start with how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Let's go with
most
that.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's go your story.
So my next door neighbors, I nannied their kids while I was in college, and she was a pharmacist at Target, I think. And his mother was a pharmacy tech with her, and they just both got together, and she was like, hey, the girl that nannies my kids are single, and his mom was like, my son is single, we should hook them up. So that's how that happened. So I think it started with a Facebook message.
It did.
Okay.
Stephanie messaged me first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there
That's
we go.
awesome.
I
And
did.
It just so happened it was, I want to say it was a week before she messaged me. I was watching, oh my gosh, I can't remember what movie, but I'm a big sap, very emotional type of guy. And I was watching this movie down in the basement in this little bachelor pad in Girard with by myself. I had a roommate, but I was by myself. And I was sitting down there just crying. And I'm like, gosh, I need to find a wife. I am sick of being alone. So I literally called my mother. And I'm like, Mom, I just watched this movie and I really need to find a wife. And then it just so happens a week later or so, she ends up talking to Kristen. And
Be careful what you ask God for.
yeah, and my wife.
It was bestowed to you.
Yeah, she DM'd me on Facebook.
That's so funny.
So funny.
And then we went on our first date to, I went to her house, and then we went to
Ruby Tuesdays.
an elegant
Hey.
Ruby Tuesday dinner.
There we go.
I wore a purple shirt.
You remember?
Like a blue.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I could even tell you what he ordered.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's like, I don't know.
What'd I get, salmon?
Core memory. Yeah, with broccoli.
Yeah.
Wow. There we go. Look at that.
It's crazy what your brain latches onto when you've had this like experience where you just know it's like a turning point for you.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Why did you know it was a turning point?
I feel like a lot of people lack that forwardness and authenticity of being able to say, this is what I want, and being honest about it. And we sat down to dinner and he's like, I'm looking to get married and have kids and a family. And if that's not what you want, we don't have to have a second date because I'm not here just for like casual purposes. And I was like, wow, the honesty in that, like I could really get down with that because so very little people say what they actually mean. And like dating in general can be pretty savage, like the games and, well, you start to like me, so I'm going to withdraw. There just was none of that. And I just felt like this person was genuine and authentic and like somebody that I could cleave myself to, like a man that acted like a man and was a leader. And that's how I just knew.
That's
Thanks,
amazing.
baby.
Good for you. Good for you. That's a rare find
Right.
in men these days, I feel like.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long you guys been together then?
We will be married 13 years this June.
Okay.
Yes. And together, 13
And a half.
So you guys got married pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long?
Like
Did
he
you date?
proposed to me after like 3 months and we got
Oh
married
my goodness,
like
that's amazing.
2 months later.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me about the wedding.
Yes. Well, how'd you propose?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to tell you about how I proposed. So I called her mom, I called her dad, asked for their blessing.
But both my parents have been
didn't get
divorced
it.
multiple times.
Yeah, I didn't
So
get
they're
it.
a little jaded.
But I told him I'm going to do it anyway. Love him, but sorry, I'm going to marry your daughter. And then I called her cousin, Melissa, and I told her what my plan was. We were going to New Jersey to visit her and Brick Township, to visit her cousin Melissa. And I'm like, hey, I've got this extravagant plan. I know she loves peonies. I want to take her to the botanical gardens
In
in
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. And I want to, they have like a big peony row. I want to take her there. I want to place the ring in one of the peonies. And then I want to walk away just ever so slightly and then kind of guide her back to that peony.
It did not happen like that.
It did not.
It did not.
So we were actually going to see one of her friends was in a little Broadway show. And
To AMDA, and it was like his closeout performance for graduation.
And so we were kind of like walking around, you know, looking at all the beautiful flowers and everything. And then we finally get to Peony Row.
And
Well,
I
by
was
that
complaining.
time-
It was blazing hot. There was no shade. I had the stomach flu the weekend prior, and I was like, get me out of here.
So my extravagant proposal turned into a, hey, let's go to this bench in the shade and take a seat because I think you're going to kill me if I don't get you into the shade.
Yeah.
So
my
we
goodness.
walk literally, I don't know, it was probably 15, 20 feet from the peony, the row of peonies. And we sit down and I looked at her and I said, it's now or never. Or yeah, I think I said it's now or never or something like that. And then I got down on my knee and then asked her
Yeah.
for her hand in marriage.
Aw.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming.
No.
You didn't.
I didn't.
She
No,
said yes, though.
I did. Yeah, I was stunned. I was like, what is happening? But like, I mean, easiest yes ever. One of my best life decisions.
Aw.
Now,
That's so
being
special.
together this long,
Mhm.
what's something you guys have learned about each other that you didn't know beforehand? I guess you're also going like pretty quick into marriage.
Yeah.
How did you guys know from day one, like this is the person?
I think there's a couple factors like people kind of skim over. They think that they're not as important as they are. So like we have the same faith and the same moral compass. We believe strongly in loyalty and fidelity. And we also have a strong feeling about family being the core. And I think that when you're equally yoked in all senses, whether it's religion, whether it's your moral compass, whether it's your goals for life, those things are super important. So, I mean, yeah, attraction is important. That was definitely there, but it was knowing that I could grow with this person and knowing that we would make great choices together because our goals lined up with one another.
Yeah. I
Amazing.
mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's always a choice. God gave us the ability to choose. And we have had many arguments, many disagreements, many of those situations that we chose one another at the end of it. We work together. And I feel like it's just so important to always choose one another. If you're always choosing yourself, then that could only leave you down the wrong.
I will say the
lead
one
you
thing
down the wrong
he's
path.
really good at. He's really good at apologizing. Like
And that's important.
Yeah, it's huge. I think a lot of people underrate how a sincere apology is so effective, and he's really good at apologizing and recognizing faults and like being like, I'm going to be better about this, and not taking it personally, not trying to not accept accountability. Like that's definitely a strength for him, and he's genuine about it, like apologizing. And I think that's a true strength that a lot of people lack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going into running your business together,
Mhm.
have you noticed that's made your marriage stronger by now working together?
So we don't work directly together. He still has a full-time job working
Okay.
for Simon Roofing doing sales. So when we started the business, we both had full-time jobs. I still did OB and gynecology. He did Simon Roofing. And, you know, we wanted to be able to build the business, and to pour back into it meant not having to rely on it financially. So we were able to not take a paycheck from LuxLoft and just keep dumping the money back into it. And that served us well. And then as I kind of went more just aesthetic and phased out of my life of gynecology and obstetrics, he was able to kind of take on some additional roles at home that made it possible for me to be more present as we were in that building and growing phase. So even though he doesn't directly do anything with LuxLoft in terms of like working in the facility, he still is the maintenance man, and he has to call the accountant, and he does a lot of the things that are necessary, like watching Lincoln so I can go to a 4-day injection course. So it's indirectly in a lot of ways, but it's what makes the day-to-day possible.
And
Okay.
I mean, I think that is specifically now for the most part, because in the beginning, you know, I watched Steph work in the OBGYN office, and she would work her normal full-time shift. And then afterwards, she had that desire to make people feel beautiful still. And so she'd spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours into the evening and administering injectables for patients. And
every weekend.
every
for
weekend.
years.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
we sat down and we started looking at the numbers. We're looking at all of the different financial growth that can come from what she was doing. And I'm like, babe, you're amazing. You're a rock star. You can literally do this yourself. Just do it yourself. So that's when we kind of like got the ball rolling, and God had a plan. Things happened.
It's hard to get
and
out
it
of the
all-
scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh,
hard
yeah.
to let go of one thing without having full control over the next thing. And I think that it was just getting out of that perspective of what if I fail? And like he was there providing the support on the back end so that I wasn't fearful about the other things that were in my life, like our child and our regular bills. Like he was there to support that. And I think that's super huge.
Yeah, for the most part, right now. I mean, I always tell everybody, you know, I might be 50% owner, but I have nothing to do with the business anymore, other than being a patient.
Reaping
That's
the
awesome.
benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
No,
sure.
it's. I mean, yeah. Steph has just absolutely killed it. in
But
the
you put
business
in all that
world.
effort at the very beginning to help her get to where
Right.
she's at.
Yeah, most definitely.
Sacrificing
Absolutely.
date nights. And like there was probably a straight decade, not even joking you, while we were learning to like love each other and know each other well. We were still in that. I went to nursing school. I went to NP school. We started new careers. He started a new career. We opened the business, and I had to do full-time regular job, evenings, weekends. So right now, I would say this year is like the true like testament of like it's paid off, and we've
Yeah,
been able
success.
to like actually have some downtime and like take a regular paycheck from our company, like genuinely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where were you guys when you guys met? You did not have your degrees currently.
I was a surgical tech,
Okay.
and he worked in a
I worked in a factory. Yeah, I
at
worked
Okay.
at Parker
Parker
Hannafin.
So you guys quite literally held each other's hand through it all.
We had this
Oh, yeah.
tiny little house on the west side, and we stayed there for, the first 8 years of our marriage.
Yeah.
And then, we, just built our dream house, which seems surreal. But like I said, it was like finally after 13 years,
Yeah.
it has paid off. But
So, so many times you hear the opposite of that.
Right.
So many people want to wait until they're done with their schooling to get married, but I don't see it, to be honest with you, I don't see it result in very good endings.
Yeah,
To be honest. So like, that's really amazing that you guys took that leap of faith and held each other's hand through
yeah.
School is hard.
it was. And you know what, too? Like, I'm so thankful that I did it that way for multiple reasons. But also, any nurses listening, if you've ever had to change your nursing license and your last name, no. So I'm so thankful that it was Matthews
That's
before
the
I
number
graduated
one.
nursing
There you go.
school.
Right.
But no, it was tough, but I feel like we are unshakable at this point. Like the things we've been through, infertility, job losses, deaths of family members, like starting a business, I feel like you either figure it out and it makes you better, and we don't even fight anymore. There's nothing to fight about.
No.
We have
That's
each
amazing.
other figured out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it's just me agitating her.
Yeah. There's definitely
I
some
always
banter.
tell her I'm flirting with you. Babe.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm like,
flirting
leave
with
me
you."
be.
I'm keeping the love alive
Yeah.
by trying to press your buttons because I love you so much.
There we go.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, let's see.
Well, so Steph, what's your story? You can go back as far as you want. How'd you, I guess, where are you from?
Okay, so I was born in Omaha.
Okay.
I am a military family. So my dad was in the Air Force, and my parents used to be in Youngstown when they first met, and they, were stationed in Omaha. So me and my sister were both born in Omaha. My parents got a divorce. Of course, their families are from here. We moved back here. I went to Austintown, single mom, 3 kids. She did not do it the conventional way. She kind of got married, had the kids, and then in her 40s was like, oh my God, I have these kids, nobody to support them, I'm single, and went back to nursing school at YSU. So, she would take us with her to nursing school in the evening. And I graduated from the same nursing school that she did.
Aww.
So she worked really hard to raise us. She, we grew up with very little for a very long time. And then my godmother, who's not really my relative at all, my mom's best friend, kind of stepped in too to help my mom and was a very positive influence and really helped financially and just, taught me how to drive and taught me about finances, got me to open a credit card when I was, old enough, and taught me about saving and investing and all of those things. So, I think part of our success too is picking the right spouse, but also kind of making wise financial choices from an early age, because you get yourself into credit issues, it's tough to dig yourself out. But she definitely taught me the value of $1 and how to save it and how to make it work for you instead of you working for it. And that's invaluable. Both my parents still live around here. Like I said, both of them had been married multiple times, and, they're finally with their person and have it figured out. But, it just gave me a drive to be like, I want a different life. I want to get the education first before starting a family. I want to be financially secure before starting a family. And I want to pick the right spouse because it dictates a lot of your successes in life, truly. And it dictates a lot of your stress and happiness. Your home is meant to be your safe space. And for a lot of people, I don't find that to be true. They don't want to be there. It's the source of all of their stress and angst. And that's opposite for me. I genuinely can't wait to go home and spend time with my family. But when I graduated Fitch, I went to YSU for a bachelor's in biology and chemistry. And then I went to nursing school after that, got a second bachelor's, and then went straight through for my MP at Kent. So nothing crazy, just a lot of school.
A lot of school.
And I kind of did it the wrong way. Like, I shouldn't have got the first bachelor's degree. That was just ignorance on my part, making a decision at 17 what you're going to do for a living. You have no idea what degrees truly stand on their own. And unless you go to medical school, that one's kind of crap. So had to reroute. So
Okay.
That's all right.
You
Gotta have
could-
some kind of reroute at some
100%.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, most of the reroutes in my life were things that I thought were just bad or just bad luck ended up being some of my biggest blessings. So I really have
It
no
happens
regrets.
for a reason.
Absolutely.
And not to take anything away from how hard Stephanie worked, but I promise you, seeing her over the last 12, 13 years, she literally made school look easy. I was not as fortunate
I'm the
in
same
the
way.
learning.
My guy can't read a book. He's like, I'm on this first page still. I've read it 4 times. And I'm like, I don't know.
She is literally a sponge when it comes down to reading, watching shows, telling me what the plot of the show or the ending is before it's over. But just a testament to again, how amazing she is. because she really
Keeps
did
hyping
make
you
it.
up.
She did make it look easy.
Hype man.
Yeah. I will say he genuinely is my biggest fan. There's been moments where I'm like, I'm giving up. Owning a business can be so difficult. And like, nobody believes in me more than he does. And I'm like, I don't know where this comes from.
You have to have that.
Yeah.
You have to have that to find success in owning a business. You have to have that backing and that support 100%.
I could see why people without a support system like quit are just done, because it's so daunting some days. And just being able to go home and, like I said, have that safe space, have somebody that is cheering you on and offering you sound advice and, also working towards the same goal is huge. He has really wonderful examples of that. His parents are stellar. Been married for 36 years. They're just still so in love. They're so supportive of each other. And all of his siblings actually have followed suit to their parents and, happily married, wonderful families. They've made all the right choices because they've had the best example.
Most. Yeah.
Well, they're not perfect, but
This
I
is
mean,
no
they're
BS.
close to it. They're close to it.
No BS here.
Yeah.
So in your relationship, at any point in time, I mean, obviously you guys set the premises right from the beginning. You said that you laid it out there. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. Was there a point in your marriage then that you guys had to kind of realign those goals and look at each other and, say, this is what my dream is? You had a dream. This is what my dream is. Tell me how that went.
So I would say we had the School of Hard Knocks in the initial. I think everybody moves in together and is like, whoa. We were raised by different types of families. We have very different styles of like just living. How I load the dishwasher irked him. So it's like,
Still irks me.
Yeah. I mean, so you have
I
those
just fix it every time. It's okay.
initial things that you kind of get through. And I think everyone says, oh, that first year is tough. I think that's trivial stuff. I think that's learning to not be selfish. I think that's just normal growth.
Self-work.
But I would say everyone says like that year 7 for us, we had struggled with some infertility. We had a failed adoption that kind of rocked our world. And so, grieving and sadness affects everybody in different ways. And I'm a very open individual. I was working in labor and delivery as a labor nurse. So to me, infertility was just like another day at the office. I'm like, okay, there's options. We could adopt, we could foster to adopt, we could do this embryo adoption. And he's like, whoa, I'm still back at, we have infertility and I'm not dealing with this well. And so it came to the point where for him, I think there was a lot of like shame and sadness. And I'm like, well, we got to get through it and you have to figure it out. And if you're just going to be miserable, like, I don't know what to tell you. So we opted to go to she's a counselor through Side Care, but she also is like faith-based. And we sat down and really kind of unpacked why it is that we both felt that way and how we were going to like move forward. And it was one of the best decisions. I think people don't talk enough about therapy within their marriage, just individually, but also as a couple being so helpful, even if you're not having lots of problems, just being able to kind of pinpoint the small stuff and just be able to make it really good instead of just having a mediocre marriage. And we really kind of unpacked that. And after that, we were like, yeah, we've got to figure it out. But I mean, there was that turning point where you have to look at each other, the good, bad, and the ugly, and choose that person and choose to invest in fixing your problems.
And one of the only books that I read from back to front, or from front to back rather, was Love and Respect.
Yeah.
And that was something that, because you and I read it together, it
Back to that, he can't read it by himself.
Yeah, no, we read it together.
We would lay in bed and he would read it page by page out loud, and then we would talk about it to make sure it got in
make
there.
sure it got into my brain. No, but I think that is that book utilizing that the knowledge that came from the people that wrote the book. It really helped transform our way of thinking as issues came up, as arguments started. They always referred to it as the crazy cycle. and you never wanted to continue the crazy cycle.
Like it talks about the differences between men and women and how we perceive things. And in the book, they talk about blue hearing aids and pink hearing aids. Like, for instance, if a woman's like, boy, the house looks messy, a guy is hearing, yeah, the house is messy. And like, we're saying it as like a loaded statement, as in like, you should have cleaned it up. And men don't hear that. They need direct, like, conversation. Like, can you clean this up for me? And like, women are like, why do I have to tell you? Why should I have to ask you? And so it just unpacks how men and women see things differently, how they perceive things, how we are not wired the same, and that's okay. Because a lot of it is just that miscommunication, expecting your partner to read your mind, expecting them to meet your expectations without ever outlining them. Yeah. And that is crazy when you think about it. If you get a job, you get a handbook, and it's like, this is what's expected of you.
Or you get training or something.
And you get training. And instead, you get married and you're like, yeah, we're going to coincide with one another and coexist, and we're going to be happy. And then life is like, just happen. Kidding. It doesn't. It takes that same work and that same training and that investment.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the choice. You choose to do it. Yeah. You choose each other. And as long as you're continuing on that path of correct choices, success is inevitable.
Absolutely. Liam and I see couples on the best day of their lives. And sometimes I think about it and I'm like, sometimes it gets not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not repetitive, but like, you continuously see these people in the best day, week, and weeks after of their marriage, like top of the game, ready to go, ready to face life together. And sometimes like you forget that we only see that.
We only see the honeymoon phase.
We only see the honeymoon phase. Yes. And we don't see all the in between. And then people come back to us because, they start their family and they want pictures with their family. So a lot of times photographers only see families and couples at the best moments of their lives. And so sometimes you forget and it can get repetitive. But you're right. Reading books about marriage and therapy are a completely underrated thing. You have to do it. Yes. Just like you invest that, not learning those things and investing into your knowledge for your schooling. Why would you not do that for the person that you spend your entire life with? You need to invest knowledge into knowing how that's going to work and how to handle it properly.
It's true. Yeah. Like, I'm sure you can attest, when you started your business at your company, you can't get enough of like finance book and growth books and self-help for entrepreneurs. And you're investing all of this time and strategically growing what you find that you want to be successful in. And the same thing goes for marriage. I could even argue that with your friendships. I think friendships, people also place so little value. They throw their friends away and they're like, I'm going to get new ones because this one irritated me. Instead of openly communicating what's frustrating you and like giving that person a chance to grow and evolve, they also expect you to read their mind, meet all their expectations, and then they discard and start again. But you're just packing up your trash and bringing it to the next relationship.
Yep. And we see that too with bridal parties. Yep. Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's so rare. And I will tell a bride and groom when I'm with them, and I can tell that the groom's friends get along well with the bridesmaids, And I tell them, I'm like, it is so rare to see everybody have such good friendship in the group that is part of your wedding day. It's very rare. But it's very special. Yeah. But I bet those people dedicate time into being a better person, dedicate time into, growing themselves and their relationships all around.
So what kind of advice would you give to someone that is, so I'm not married. Yeah. I'm not married. I am a single bachelor. Okay. What kind of advice would you give to someone like me that hasn't found that person? I feel like this day and age, it's very hard to date someone.
Yes.
Because all you see is what's on Instagram or what's on a dating profile. You don't actually see what that person is truly like. What kind of advice would you give to someone that is looking for that partner?
Gosh. It's difficult because my mom hooked me up with her. So
so just ask your mom.
No. So, I mean, it goes kind of back to that, is like, respecting the people that know you and know your heart, and respecting character, testimony for other people. I think it's very scary to meet someone like clearly at a bar. What are their intentions? Is that something they do constantly? And then are you going to expect them to suddenly turn that off because you guys start dating? I think that the best way to meet someone is through people, letting people be like, wow, I see similarities. I think that they could jive well, and kind of helping you establish, like, you know, they're going to weed some of the red flags out, like, oh, he wouldn't like that or she wouldn't like that. So I think really his mom was very right in that. Both of them knew us really well. They knew where we stood with our like religious beliefs. They knew where we stood with our goals. They knew we both wanted to be in a committed relationship. So there wasn't any of that weird, like, oh, well, I don't want anything serious, because we had already kind of weeded that out.
Yeah.
The book I'm reading right now is called How Your Phone is Ruining You. And
I want to read that.
it's definitely not it's not telling you that your phone has no importance or like your devices. It's actually saying the opposite, that they're so important and they're so integral to businesses. But that same respect, it changes how we have relationships with people, even at the basic level. For instance, if like you were to come up to me on the street without your phone and say, hey, what do you think about this? You might get a more candid response. But if you come up and you're recording me and asking me that, the response is going to be a little bit different, maybe a little bit generic. So it's just also your relationships are going to be generic if they're kind of established through Facebook, Instagram. Like you said, you're seeing their best. You're seeing the edited photos, the like curated things that they want you to see, but you're not getting a glimpse into actually who they are.
Yeah.
Oh my
No, I
goodness.
couldn't agree more.
You started on that topic, and that's exactly where I was going to go with it, because I feel like you say that you credit your mom for introducing you guys, and how important it is to have relationships with people, because that's potentially how you can meet your person.
Yeah.
I feel like relationships all around in today's society are just so difficult, period, because of so many factors. And like, I just feel like relationships, period, are so ungenuine these days that it's such a struggle. I personally have struggled like finding genuine friendship. Liam and I are very good friends, and everybody on Bentley Studios team has truly become like my own personal friends. But why? Because I put myself in a situation, I put myself out there and took a leap of faith to come photograph a wedding with them.
Yeah.
And people aren't doing that these days, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, nobody likes to get out of their own little comfort zone, and it's crazy because the comfort zone is Instagram, Facebook.
Yes.
And it's
TikTok,
hard too. People
whatever,
want
Twitter,
remote
whatever it is.
jobs. They're not going into the office. They're not making connections with people.
It's so difficult. I feel for you, Liam. I do. My
It's
friend.
a constant struggle.
I do.
I also look at it from like she mentioned with the whole wedding perspective.
Yeah.
I get that. All I see, my perspective of what the partner is I get to listen to their vows on repeat 20 times while I'm editing their video. So it's ruined a little bit my perspective on, I don't know if I've become like too picky in a way that like all I hear is those specific words, or I get to see these people 24/7.
Yeah.
That it's just like, it makes things a little bit more difficult
Yeah.
in my situation.
Are you a praying man?
A little bit.
There you go.
I think you need to just continue to pray on it. Like I said, I watched this funny movie. It was some comedy. I wish I remembered what the name of the movie was, but I watched it, and it was almost like God came down, and it was like his voice, like, Zach, you need a wife and a family. Call your mom now. Cry and tell her about it, and then watch me work. Okay. And so it was just, I don't know. I feel like I did put a lot of prayer into it.
You also have to have space in your life for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that also where people go wrong is they're like, I want to be married, I want to have kids, and I want this special person, but you're responding to every guy that slides in your DMs. You're going out every weekend, and you're going to the club, and you're, posting scandalous photos on social media, or for guys, you're liking every scandalous photo out there. You think any female of worth, if you're doing those things, is going to like follow you on Instagram and see that you're liking, I don't know, so-and-so's bikini pic. They're like, no, giving sketch. It's giving not husband material, and they move on. It's the same thing for females. Like a man of value is going to be like, maybe not, because like, is that going to stop? Like, are you going to stop doing those things once we're together or we're in a committed relationship?
Right.
People are judging you for your behavior and actions before you even meet them. I mean, as a business owner, the first thing I do when someone applies is I'm looking at their Instagram. Are you posting outrageous political posts? Are you a religious extremist and you're hateful and you're spewing hateful comments? Because those things are things that I'm looking for. And so I think the same thing goes for relationships. So also, do you have space in your life for a spouse? I mean, or somebody that you want to share your life with? Do you have the time to date? Are you making time to date? I think that's, and I'm making eye contact with you because you're sitting across from me. Not like I'm like, Liam, this is you.
You're not.
Carving out some time to be like, this person, I would have time for them if they were here. I would be able to meet them for dinner. I would be able to come home at night and give my undivided attention for 3 to 4 hours. That is hard for me. I'm not naturally a sitter. I'm a doer and a goer, and I have to be busy and moving and like coming home to be present and like just sit on the couch with a toddler and watch Encanto. Hard. It was hard for me at first, but I made the space for it. You have to. So I would say make the space for it. Meet someone through character witness, through people that you know, and just make sure that like what you say you want is lining up with your actions
what
of
your
what you
actions
want.
Are. Yeah.
You have to be a reflection of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Now I got some homework.
You sure do.
Zach, what's your story?
My story. So Steph touched on it a little bit. I was born and raised in Girard Liberty area, right across from Katie's Corner Ice Cream on Tibbetswick Road. My mom, I was the first of 5.
Oh.
Big family.
Yes.
Tiny house.
And in a tiny little house.
I think that also plays a role in why they're so close. They genuinely
We were
wanna
literally
beat it.
close.
One bathroom,
Yeah.
like 2
One
bedrooms.
bathroom. At the time, let me think. My dad literally customized this house as the kids came. It was me first, and then Isaiah, who was actually ended up being a stillborn. So we lost him, but he still has a ton of importance.
Absolutely.
And definitely worth talking about. And then it was my little sister Mary, Mary Lanka Prothro, and then James Matthews, my little brother Jimmy, and then Andrew.
Hold on. Did you say all boy names?
All except one.
All except for one. Okay.
Mary.
Yes,
Mary. Yes. Sorry. Okay.
The middle. Yes. The princess.
Rightfully
She
so.
lucked out.
She did.
Yeah, she sure did. But I grew up, my dad was a professional photographer. He first started his business with a friend, also a neighbor of his. And it started as M&W Photography in Girard, next to Mayor Melfi's Pizza Parlor, the pizza shop down in Girard. I spent many, many days at that studio, goofing off, playing, just being present with my family. And even before that, my dad actually worked at Commercial Intertech, which then turned into Parker Hannafin. So I'll get to that part. But once he had the studio, we had, let me think, it was me, my little sister, and I want to say James. Well, Andrew was born too. So all four of us were living in the house. Life was honestly great. I didn't
work.
Yeah. I was
Be
homeschooled.
Oh, really?
I was
Okay.
homeschooled until 4th grade.
One of his flaws is time management because
Yes.
they didn't have to have any.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here, 4 kids. Homeschooling sounds dreamy just because of the schedule.
Well,
Right.
But I could never do
They
it.
stay in their
Right.
pajamas, eat their breakfast when they want, do school when they want. Yeah. We call it the Matthews time. They all struggle with the lateness.
Yeah.
Oh my.
What is time? Anyway, so after 4th grade, my mom and dad ended up putting me into Liberty. So I went to, I think it was E.J. Blott, and then WS Guy, and then Liberty High School. After high school, where did I start working after high school? Well, I started making waffle cones. I was the waffle boy at Katie's Corner.
Well, you did go to college for a stint.
I did 2 years.
That way,
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't his
Nothing to show for it, but it's okay. I paid it off.
We paid it off.
We
were like,
you're right.
no,
You're
no.
right. You're right. We paid it off. Yes. Sorry about that. But then I started working. I was a locksmith for 2.5, 3 years. So I learned that trade. I loved it. Different opportunity, more money came into play. So then I started a career with Parker Hannafin, and I was obviously low man on the totem pole. It was a union job. I was testing hydraulic pumps with like these big, like apron things on. I mean, I had hydraulic fluid all over me every single night.
It's not what he dreamed for himself. Like
No, it
he
wasn't
loves
what I
a
dreamed.
bougie, like cutie outfit.
Yeah, I do.
So he was like, "This is not how I pictured my life. I should be wearing like a suit and dress clothes." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do something about it."
Yeah. So, so I was there for 7 years. I honestly thought I would retire from there because of just financially, it would have been.
Yeah, trades can be
would've been,
lucrative.
yeah.
I mean, especially now.
100%.
And then they ended up shutting their doors. I did climb my way up through the company, but they shut their doors. So then I was kind of like, I don't know really what to do now. And then I worked for Sodexo after that.
Friends, the Wardles,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of advocated for him to go to Roth Brothers and Sodexo. So that's kind of where he ended up next. And
So I worked there. My previous position at Parker Hannafin was quality control. So I ended up gaining a position in quality and then in sales through Sodexo, the energy rebate program brought on by First Energy. And I have a love for people. I have a love for talking. I have a love for helping. And I can sell snow to a snowman. So my wife ended up hooking me up with my now boss and telling her she needs to give me a chance to work for Simon Roofing on the national team. And so I've been with Simon now for 4 years.
his boss is who I
love
want to
it.
be when I grow up. Like just a true leader, and she's just
She is.
unapologetic about wanting to get things done and win. And she's very not influenced by how people feel about her or their opinions. And she just is a total boss.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you were going to take this job, don't ever cross her. Like she is going you will win if you are with her, but don't ever cross her.
No, but now, yeah, that's where I'm currently at.
Okay.
I'm national account salesman for Simon Roofing. I enjoy what I do. I don't like the traveling as much anymore.
Okay.
Just because I want to be home with my family. But obviously things need to happen to make money. But I don't travel a ton. So I'm still able to be home a lot. And honestly, now that we're moved into our new home, I mean, I always told Steph I can live in a cardboard box with her and be happy. But now that we've done it, now that we've I don't want to like say made it, but now that we've made it and we've created it together, there's no place else that I'd rather be.
Sounds cliche. Like create a life that
It's
you don't
crazy.
need to vacation from. Create
Yeah,
a
no,
life
it's
that
crazy.
you know you think is just wonderful and peaceful and all those things, and you see it and you're like, how does that happen? How do you get there? And now that we're here, I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's definitely a breath of fresh air. I work from home, so I kind of get to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Other than when I travel, but it is just when Steph comes home from work or when we come home tonight, it's just like we walk in the door and it's like, oh,
I'm sure.
yes.
And rightfully so. You guys did make it. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a true
yeah.
statement. You made it to the place that you guys dreamed of creating.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Steph, having your own business, how have you found ways to not bring work home?
I suck. I'm not going to lie. I
Or
think
what are you working on to find that good work-life balance?
so. I think a lot of my previous problems initially were the growth phase is requiring a lot of presence. It's requiring you to show up as different versions of yourself that you weren't anticipating. So you own a business, you have to know finance, you have to understand accounting, you have to understand law, you have to understand human resources. And that comes with like a psychology degree at this point. I think a lot of my problems were in doing things wrong in terms of like hiring. I think that that saying of like slow to hire, quick to fire, I think that sounds cliche, but most of my problems came with like poor decisions I made about who should be hired. I also think that I probably was a little too forgiving when I shouldn't have been. Most of my angst in this business came directly from that because I was unprepared to lead people and also to kind of guide them and be the disciplinarian, be the authoritarian that sometimes you have to be. And that's not in my personality. So I think that once I started focusing on character hires over resume, over experience, I think anyone can learn anything if they're driven to do so. But like creating that very safe and nurturing environment for yourself to work in daily and then also for your staff to work in has been the game changer. Like these last 9 months, we have the best staff. They are truly loving towards one another. They are good people. They are kind to the patients. And like that has taken my stress from 100 down to 0. Like the things I used to come home and sob about or be upset about are no longer even a thought. Like these girls are just stellar. I hope they're my forever team. Like I want to keep all of them and force them into forever. I would literally cry if any of them wanted to leave because I just love them all so much and they have solved all of the problems.
Yeah.
The money part, it's math. There's only one right answer. There's only one right answer when it comes to like growing and expanding, bottom line. But it's those people that you choose to cleave yourself to that are just so important.
Yeah, within the business. And
So-
it was difficult for you in the beginning.
Yeah, because
I
it's
mean,
just
there
out of
was
my
a lot
character. I went to school
yeah.
for medicine. I didn't understand, like, if somebody does something wrong, like, how many times do you tell them? How, like, even though it's in your handbook, like, you want to give people grace and meet them where they're at. If they're struggling in their home life, you want to know them as people and be understanding. And like I said, mercy and grace are so important, but also understanding firm boundaries and like how important it is for your business to run as a business. You want to be loving and be a friend, but you also have a job to do and patients to serve. And that's why we're there. So a lot of those things over the years were my mistake, was hiring people that I knew from the rip weren't good fit or, you know, would have issues with one another. And I just was like, you know, a little bit fearful of making the wrong mistake or upsetting somebody. So I have that figured out.
That's good.
And
That's a big one.
That has changed the dynamic completely. I have this one woman that I really look up to, one of his being his boss, and her saying was always like, you know, the solutions in the dilution, and like that if something isn't right and you can feel that it's not right, likely it's because there's a piece there that doesn't fit. And, you know, I was always like a fearful person to be like, no, I can't. There was another woman that I was like, well, how do you deal when someone's having a bad day? And she's like, that's your fault. The fact that you accept it, that you allow it, you set the tone for the culture. And I was like, it is me. I am the problem. And that was the game changer.
Honestly, I can attest to everything that she's saying, because I'd say, before 9 months ago, even a year, we'll go back a year. And a year ago, I mean, I would say, hey, babe, I ask her every single day, hey, how's work? Because I want to know genuinely. But I also, I try and I talk a lot, and I like to talk, and I like to give advice, and I like to help. Like I said, it's what my heart's desire is. And she would dump on me, and I'd be like, oh, crap. What am I going to do to fix it? Like, okay, this person did this person did this. All right, babe, here's what you need to do. This is the way you should feel. And then it would just like cause
also coming
issues.
from a man's perspective again,
Yeah.
that shift just how you handle situations, especially social interactions with people, from a man to a female is completely different. Female to female is always a much more savage thing. Throughout history, I mean, women can attest. Women are nasty to women. They tend to be a little bit nicer to men. That does not tend to be the case with all women. We are all women. We serve 90% women as patients. In addition to that, I genuinely think too that you get to that place where, you know, you're in a small space together. It's like sisters and siblings squabble, and you have this like pettiness that kind of develops just from being irritated, just like a busy, hectic workday. And like it's easy to like find fault in your coworkers or even your spouse. That could be argued with anything. And with just women in general, like having a small space like that, just having no tolerance for that. You know, you just think that adults are going to work it out, and that is not what happens. You have to kind of curate that environment and like set the tone, and it starts at the top. And kind of, I just was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. You guys figure it out. Also, I'm a unique situation that I work elbow to elbow with the people that I employ. A lot of people do not work at the businesses that they own. Like you could argue with the restaurant, like the owners, like they're not serving tables with the people that they employ. So you irritate somebody and they're irritated for the whole day, and they directly are mad at you. That's hard. That was hard for me to recognize, like how you set the tone, but also that you have to be okay with someone being upset with you. Or you have to be okay with someone just being upset and not internalizing it. If someone came in and was quiet, I'd be like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And like naturally you want to think they're at work, so it must be work, when realistically it could be something completely different. But that was the hard thing. And I don't want to say like 9 months ago, I had horrible staff. That wasn't the case. It was just the dynamic together. I think also just like people use jobs as stepping stones. So when there's turnover, it makes it even more difficult. You have new people training new people, and that's tough too. So it was just kind of like the perfect storm. But
yeah, I don't think any of the people that were ever working at the loft were bad people.
No.
It's just
the overall dynamic.
It was just
it's
different.
How many
you
people
interact.
do you have that work there?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so
Wow.
you add busyness, you add multiple different roles. Like we have nurses, we have LPNs, we have medical assistants, social media specialists, we have front and back office, we have office manager, 2 nurse practitioners, and you squish us in one space, 3,000 square feet. And and we're all generations. We have from 21 years old to 65.
Oh, wow.
So then you look at cultural differences, religious differences, you have generational differences, and like also all of the things that you take into account, like just as human beings, like how you were raised, who your parents were, how you were disciplined, how you feel loved. So you like basically have to have the psychology degree, like, okay, so-and-so doesn't learn this way, so I need to change that. Or so-and-so, if I tell her, hey, you did this wrong, and she's sobbing for the rest of the day, need a different approach.
Yeah.
That is so tough. Like just knowing that like to lead people, you have to be able to meet them where they're at, figure out how they feel loved, how they learn best. That is just tough. But 7 years later, I think I got it.
Yeah.
But you feel like that whole journey has made you a better boss.
100%. And not just a better boss, I think a better spouse. I think a better friend. I think that when you figure out what makes people tick and how to best kind of meet them where they're at, it transcends into all aspects of your life. And like, I've made mistakes. Like, it's so easy to get caught up when someone's having a bad day to be like, oh, what's her problem? And like, again, I said, it starts at the top. Like, you roll your eyes, then other people think it's okay to roll your eyes. And like, no one is perfect. If I have a bad day and I'm a little quiet, I'm sure their response is, what's wrong with her? You know? And so it's just that knee-jerk reaction. And then people, it's that ripple effect. They're like, is something wrong with her? Is she okay? You know, it's just being able to manage the emotions better. If you are in a bad mood, being like, hey guys, I'm in a bad mood today. It has nothing to do with you guys. If I'm a little quiet, I apologize. And just being able to maturely set the stage for the day and stave off those problems. And that was huge. Just learning how to control your own emotions and your reactions to things and be a better leader. I think that's the goal.
And to add to what I was saying about, you know, coming home and asking how was work today, I can honestly say that for the past, 5, 6, 7 months that I've asked her, hey, how's work? She's like, it was great. I have nothing to talk about. It was amazing.
Awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah, truly.
And it's like, okay.
Refreshing.
You know, we made it again.
you made it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And
it took a journey to get there.
takes
Oh
a
yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just have that all figured out
Oh,
from
no.
the get-go. There's
No.
no way.
No.
Nobody does.
And I think even aesthetics as a whole, staying relevant, finding content that stays relevant, having to also be like very engaging in social media. You know, initially you do it all because you can't afford the people. So you manage your own social media, you're creating your own content. You also have to be really good at being an injector and understanding the medical side of things. You also are trying to control like, you know, your space and making it beautiful. And there's like a lot of things that you're doing at one time that something is bound to not be perfect.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, oh, one more thing. Like, I don't want to focus on it. And like we said earlier, what you don't pay attention to and you don't put effort into is what's going to suffer.
Yeah.
And for me, I thought those relationships just happened organically and like everybody would get along. That is not the case. So now we're very intentional about spending time together outside of work, going on trips together. Like, all of that is not just job perks. It is meant to create a healthy, loving environment so that they can know each other outside of work. So it's more easy to meet people where they're at. Like, if they're having a bad day or they've made a mistake, hey, that's my friend. And like, I love her. And I'm going to just be like, hey, next time do it differently. You're not in trouble. I'm not mad at you. And I think that's really made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like, just being intentional about spending time together, getting to know each other. A lot of people are like, you cannot be friends with people you work with. I find it to be quite the opposite.
More so employ.
Yeah, I think you genuinely are more tolerant and you are more accepting when you definitely have that foundation that is strong and that you know that person and you know what they're going through at home. I think that truly has made all the difference, is that team building and spending time together, which is why you guys are so successful. You're genuinely friends. You spend time together. You're intentional about your relationship.
Yeah.
And it shows.
And that's how I've kind of structured things a lot from day one. It's having that almost family aspect to the work environment, to where you might have that person you get closer to with when all said and done, but we're all able to kind of like bounce off of each other, and we can even read each other to know like, oh, she knows when something's going on, or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's building that dynamic. Then how have you been able to control the overall optics of what the business looks like to everyone else? Because I was looking, you guys have 320 5-star reviews and nothing under that, as well as a big social media presence. How have you been able to control the optics along with the overall optics of your staff?
So I think that, part of that is, we have always hired people that are very qualified. Like, we have always gone above and beyond. Like, could I just have had the front desk person doing social media? Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. Or have your medical assistant taking your pictures. Sure, a lot of people do that because it saves money. But we really believed that, like, to make money, you have to spend money. You have to invest in quality people. So even with our turnover, our goal was always to cross-train everybody. They could do a little bit of everything. if we had to put a Band-Aid on something. In addition, we work far ahead. So we make content. We call it TikTok Tuesdays. We go in at 8 a.m. We make TikToks as an office. We have a plan, and they work months in advance. So like, say, for instance, tomorrow somebody in social media quit. That other person is there still, but we're work 3 months in advance. In addition, all of the nurses, everybody, it is about serving that patient. And regardless of what is going on, our bottom line is that we take good care of that person. We meet their needs, go above and beyond, even if we're having a terrible day. And I think that's most people that get into the medical field can agree that it's about the patient, and whether you're having a horrible day or not, like, they shouldn't feel it. But I do think that patients in general, they can tell the aura. They could tell if the environment is good and healthy. They could tell if the staff love each other. And I genuinely believe that, like, not only have we nailed that, but like, the reviews definitely state
Show
that.
that. Absolutely.
Everybody there is kind. Everyone is so like accommodating. Everybody's willing to be flexible. They answer all of my questions. I mean, again, character hire is so valuable, and like, also personality. In the past, I have hired people because their resume looks good. They're a little more on the flat end of the spectrum in terms of personality, and that's okay. Everybody has a different personality, but most people can attest, if they're going for a luxury service, they want you to be kind. They want you to kind of be over the top, like, wow, it's so nice to see you. Thanks for coming in. They want to feel loved, if, you know, not only because they're spending a lot of money, but just because it's the industry. So again, not that you have to be this bubbly, outgoing person, but you at least have to try. You at least have to want to make that patient feel special and feel valued. And that is so huge. So again, like, just making the right connections and putting people in roles that they actually have strengths for. I think that's huge.
And you serve a house of healing, which is a big thing, because yes, people are going there, you know, for, they go there to heal a part of themselves that they don't like, you know what I mean? And that is soul work too. So when you do that kind of work, you need a good environment for people. So, and it really does show. I mean, we went through some of your reviews and it's pretty impressive.
Thank you. We have a lot of cancer patients that are just finishing chemo, radiation. They, you know, it sounds menial, like, I don't want these wrinkles on my forehead, but when you've lost all of your hair and that's what you see now, like, that is a small thing that you can help them feel beautiful and kind of gain some sense of control and like their old self back. Or we have women that are in their late 60s who have done nothing but caretake their parents, and their spouse dies and they're like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know, like, how did I get to this place? I don't look like myself. And it's genuine. Like, they're not trying to be 20 again. They're just trying to feel okay. We also have a lot of stroke patients. So Botox is not just cosmetic, it's therapeutic. So if one side of your face is pulling up and the other side doesn't move at all, the least we could do is help balance it out. So I think a lot of people miss the mark. They think aesthetics is like big lips and big cheeks and frozen faces. And it's really not. There's a lot of things like excessive sweating, migraines, teeth grinding. Like, there's a lot of things we do that are therapeutic for people. And it's about taking away their discomfort, giving them better quality of life. And that's huge. That's huge.
So huge. I didn't know that it could serve. I guess I never considered it serving cancer patients. But that makes a lot of sense. I actually just got Botox for the first time. I'm almost 30. And I was like,
that's when I
time.
started 30.
Yeah.
It's time. But I loved my results physically.
Yeah.
The result that surprised me the most was I must have just been living with chronic tension and not knowing it, because, oh my God.
I know.
Like, I could cry tears over it because it was just like, I carry so much tension forward facing. And when I got that relief, I was like, my eyes opened and it was just such a difference for me. And so that I love that part of it even more.
Well, and especially computers, devices, like that's
my problem.
all we're doing all day. And like, people just genuinely, don't even realize their constant headaches are from that, like squinting, that looking at small pictures, blue light, like they just don't even realize it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a very unique niche, and it's really fun, and people think it's glamorous because of the social media presence. And like, yeah, we do make TikToks, but genuinely we have to carve out time to do it because our goal is patient care. So I just didn't want that to suffer, but there is such a need for social media. That's how people reach you. So it's that balance that's so tough.
Yeah.
So tough. But I mean,
That's how
thankful.
Liam and I met. I do social media marketing and kind of grew a passion for that. So I was working at a law firm, kind of revamping their social media presence and their marketing as a whole, and hired him for video. And so that's how we met. I was pregnant with my son. But social media is so important, and I preach this all the time. I think I've said this before on the podcast. 10 years ago, well, maybe even more at this point.
Yeah.
10 years ago, the marketing and the efforts and the money that you put into were like for magazines and, way back when, commercials and things. So I always laugh when people judge a social media presence, I guess. And I'm like, well, what are we supposed to do? Because people don't read magazines anymore, hardly. And you don't make commercials anymore. So social media is 100% marketing, and putting your efforts into that is everything. I mean, it's exactly what you have to do to find success
to
in
also
marketing.
make sure that you are presenting your brand well and keeping it consistent, and also coming up with content that is meaningful and makes sense is really tough. One of the things I started doing that made us a little more successful was we have 2 social media people that do marketing and the things. And historically, like they always kind of got along, but they were very, very different. They had differing opinions. They would be like, no, I don't like the way this one looked. And they really sometimes couldn't decide. The biggest things were like letting them choose when I was hiring, letting them sit in on all the interviews. Who did they jive with? Did their personality fit well? Because if they don't get along super well, or they have completely different ends of the spectrum, you think, oh, great, different personalities will add like more spice to it. No. As also who's going to represent your brand well. So I started letting them all sit in. Whoever was going to work directly with the new hire sat in on their interview, and then they would pick their top 2, and then I would make the final decision just based on like what they were saying. And that has been so good for our 2 social media girls. They're both Palestinian. They are the cutest thing. They work so well together. I literally be in rooms injecting and just hear them giggling, laughing, making TikToks, like cracking up. Like the joy that they have just working with each other also shows on my social media. Like you can tell that they have the same style. You could tell that they value each other's opinion, but they just genuinely are the best, and they just get along so well, and it has made things so much more seamless.
Yeah, that sounds like a
It's so
dream
nice.
as a business
It's so
owner.
nice.
Yeah.
What do you guys consider your mission statement to be? Like why you do what you do?
Yeah, we have one.
We do have one. So I initially started doing aesthetics because I was already doing it in a capacity within the women's health realm. So for instance, people with PCOS have facial hair because they have too much androgen. So a lot of the OB-GYNs that I had like followed had laser hair removal. Okay, fine, makes perfect sense. People with PCOS lose their hair in the front, female pattern baldness, too much androgen. People were giving them minoxidil. They were telling them to go get PRP for hair loss. So that was already in the wheelhouse. I had my postmenopausal patients could not lose the weight that we were already giving things like Saxenda, Contrave to. So we were already managing weight loss in the office on a routine basis. Also some like hormone therapy, things like that. And then of course, some of the OB-GYNs that I had trained with were offering Botox and like small things that they were kind of dabbling in. And so I was already kind of like, well, that's part of it. It's just another avenue of women's health. So then when I got certified, like filler, all of those things are just a part of it. But for the most part, I was already doing a huge chunk of it. And then when I kind of quit the gynecology world, it kind of phased over. So again, it was more of a accident. Like I just wanted to do Botox, and I loved aesthetics, but it was just women's health, just in another capacity in a different setting. And our mission statement really is, if money is genuinely a byproduct of your passion, that is wonderful, but it should not be the purpose. When people place money as the purpose and the goal, everything else suffers. That should not be the hierarchy. It should be, this is my passion. I love doing what I'm doing. And if money comes in because a result of that I do it well, I'm thankful for that. But it should not be the driving force. And just supporting organizations that enrich our community was huge to us. So we do a lot of baskets, donations, like just charity events, and like we love it. It's the community we live in that our child's going to grow up in. And so we feel strongly about just picking organizations that we believe in and supporting them. And realistically, like a lot of them are my patients. Like they reach out and I'm like, I'm not giving to you because you're my patient, but I know about this because you are my patient. Yeah. I know how important it is because you've told me at your appointment, and it just makes it so much more special and personalized and just so effortless to give to things when you know about them directly and they impact you directly.
I love that. You've always had a passion for women's health. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what carried you into your career and everything.
Yeah. And I think that was my hardest transition. I mean, I cried a lot of tears over that, like just leaving your patients that, you know, you've told have cancer, leaving your patients that you've held their hands when they've had a baby pass away. Like you form these relationships with people. And even though it's sad, it's very meaningful and purposeful. And I was fearful a little bit, is aesthetics going to give me that reward that I felt and that purpose that I felt with women's health? And I can attest that not only do I feel that way with the patients most of the time, but I feel that way through the connections with the people that I work with. Like now your actions trickle down to 20 people that you employ, and like you are impacting their families, you're impacting their life in a positive way. And I think that's super meaningful. And I can honestly say everybody I work with is genuinely my friend. I would give them anything.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Where do you hope to see the business go from here, like in the next 5 years?
So we considered merging with like a large corporation for a couple of benefits because of like just being a bigger company. They have more resources, so growth can happen more rapidly. And then we kind of decided against it. We were like, okay, we're special, we're boutique and unique. We have this wonderful thing going for us, and we didn't want to have to be basically dictated to and lose our autonomy and lose what makes us special. We considered a second location, and then we were like, no, we don't want to lose that uniqueness or get those reviews where like the one in Boardman's great, but the one in, I don't know, Rocky River sucks. We did not want that. So we were like, how do we have growth within our capacity to control it and have good outcomes? So we are looking to expand. We definitely are at capacity with those 18 people and close quarters. We would love to be able to kind of separate our business. We have estheticians that do facials, massages, all of those things. I would love to be able to have them kind of on one side and the medical side on another side, for multiple reasons. Yeah. One, we are loud. Like we're laughing with our patients. If we're doing Botox, we're chatting about your kids and whatever, and they're doing like a Zen massage in the next room, they can hear us. And like we try to be mindful, but it's also hard.
It's hard to control it.
It is very hard to control it. Also, I would love to be able to offer people additional time. Like some of our estheticians want to be full-time, but there's just no rooms. I would like to have a third injector in the future. But again, I refuse to lose that quality. So like the one I have now, Polly, she's the best. I had her as a nursing student when I taught clinical for YSU. And then I had her as an NP student and took her in my gynecology office. And she also has that same moral compass, the same kind of belief set that I do. And we're genuinely very close friends. And it's so nice to see that like my patients will get loved on the same way that they would if they had me. And that's important to me. So if we do add a third, we definitely want that person to be the right fit and then be trained adequately for like a long period of time. It's really frustrating. I see people take like a weekend course and they're like, I'm a master injector. And I'm like, okay, who is mentoring you? Who is teaching you these things? And we do get a lot of patients from these places. And like, that's not what I want. I don't want them to be like, she turned this new injector loose on me. So the goal is a bigger facility. We're working on it. Yeah. It's tough to find real estate that.
Real estate is hard.
And like in our area, like, no offense to any businesses on 224, I hate the traffic. It drives me crazy. Yeah. The parking there is deplorable. It's hard for patients when you're trying to find you if you're in a plaza with 20 other businesses. It's so tough. So I love kind of where we're at on Western Reserve. We have a lot of PA patients. Yes. I also, like, we pull a lot from Warren and Howland, so having interstate access is huge. But just finding the right fit and making it our final resting place. Like,
you might just have to build.
Right. And like, we have 3,000 square feet. We probably need like 6 to 7. Yeah. And at this point, it's just like, that is very costly. And just, again, not having that scarcity mindset and taking the leap and just doing it.
And we kind of took a pause just because.
To breathe.
We wanted to, we've got Lincoln. He's 2 years old.
And you don't get that
joy
time back.
Of our life.
No.
You know?
And sometimes when things are working well, sometimes it's beneficial to just let them work well for a little bit.
Yeah. Part of that, like owning a business and like having an ambitious personality, is knowing when to dial it back and be like, am I complacent or am I thankful and comfortable? And like where that fine line is, because my theory is like, you're not growing or dying, but that's not true. Sometimes it's okay to like get to the top, take a rest, and then continue your climb and have a new perspective, which is kind of what we did this year. It kind of felt like a defeat to me because I was like, I stopped the process. We didn't feel peace about it. We stopped the process, and I kind of was like, are
we making the right decision?
Are we making the right choice? And that is hard, is just knowing. But again, just
I think that the proof is in the pudding. Just like I said, the fact that she's able to come home every day and not have anything bad to say. It's a well-oiled machine right now.
It is.
And I love seeing it. I absolutely love seeing it. When I walk into the loft, I say, "What's up, fam?" Because I honestly consider all of those girls family. Yeah. I say love you to them, you know. Yeah. I'm in the same position as she is. I don't have to be there all the time, so I can really love them. But I'm loving them from a little bit further distance.
Yeah.
But I think that I know that we made the right decision by not partnering with that company. I know that we made the right decision by not buying property and doing a full build out. I know that those are things to come within the next 5 years.
We worked with Greg Strollo. We have it all. We have the drawings. We have all of the things. We went to the bank, got the financing, and we're like, wait a minute. Like,
I mean, gosh, even the banker that we worked with, I just saw him at a wedding not too long ago, and he's like, "Zach, you guys made the right decision." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, Greg."
But, you know, that's not like, you know, like just from like a banking perspective, like things shift all the time. And I'm like, interest rate of 8 for a loan couldn't be me. I don't know. Yeah. Like I was like, I just didn't feel this peace about it. And I'm like, they've got to come down. We hope, please God. Yeah. But like, I mean, I'm sure you can attest, like sometimes your rerouting is sparing you from something devastating. And like, that's what I'm just kind of resting with.
And
it's like,
it's so hard to see opportunity and like have doors close and some open. And it's so hard to be like, keep pushing. Because if your doors continuously close on an opportunity that you want so bad, I remember being in situations like that. And I had a studio at one point and doors just kept closing and closing and closing. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And sure enough, as soon as I got that studio, it didn't work out. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, I
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
listened. I should have
Yeah.
listened to those doors close and trusted my direction and where I was being put and the path that I was put on.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely believe you cannot mess up what is for you. And
Yeah.
like, again, like you can definitely prolong your route. I have learned that the hard way. He's learned that the hard way. But you genuinely, if it's for you, it's going to find you in some capacity. So we kind of were under the mentality, we were praying about it and we were like, you know what, God, if it's not right now, like, you know, I'm sure you will present another opportunity in some other capacity. And like at this point, I'm just like in the hallway kind of waiting for what's going to be the next
Yeah.
opportunity.
And hopefully you feel peace in that
I
hallway.
was just going to say, and
I
he
feel like,
presented to us
I
peace
feel like
is
you
what
feel
he presented.
peace. I can
I
feel
do.
that on you.
I definitely do. And I'm like just so thankful because we moved into a new house. We have a toddler. Things can naturally be chaotic. And I feel like, had we been trying to build out?
You don't need it now.
No. And like, just again, like you don't get that time with your toddler back. We're considering another baby,
Yes, we are.
which is rigorous for us. We have to adopt an embryo, go through all of that craziness. So it's financially kind of strapping. So I feel like I want the growth, but I feel okay with it being like it is for a little bit.
That's so amazing. I love seeing
So-
people in their good
Yes.
aura.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys like are just so happy. I can tell.
Yeah. 5-year plan, another baby is what the 5-year plan is.
They say you're more productive with two, like as a female, that like women.
You ask her. She's got 4. I don't
Listen,
know.
Right,
women with
right.
2 kids, they've done a study that like you're more productive,
Yeah.
like that you just
I
naturally
understand
are. And
Yeah.
like, I think having a child has given me this kind of like vigor that like I've always been ambitious and like wanting to do well, but having somebody rely on you, wanting to provide them with generational wealth and income so that he didn't have to kind of struggle the way that we did and like start at the bottom. Like I look at my friends whose college got paid for or like their parents paid for their wedding and I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
like, wow, we started in the negative.
I
And
understand.
those things are so huge and are so helpful to your children that it has given me this extra fire to make sure that he has the best childhood, that he doesn't have to be, you know, have therapy for, that he sees loving relationship. I genuinely believe like love is learned through action and not what you say. So like watching us be healthy, we have to have time for each other. And sometimes like that growth would have probably damaged us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's literally the best thing. Anytime I give Steph, I walk up to give her a hug.
He
and a
claps.
kiss.
He's so
He looks,
excited.
it's just like, he's like, are they going to do it? Are
He
they
goes,
going to kiss? Are they going to
wow,
kiss?
wow,
Yeah.
love.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So I know we're doing the right thing because he
Yes.
recognizes it.
Yeah.
And it's, it's awesome.
Yeah.
The
Well, I
children
might-
are amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know
Yeah.
you're fine. Go for it.
Children are amazing. I was a single mom with my oldest, and had I not had her, there's just so many different, like I would have never had the drive that I have. I would have never went and bought a house by myself and turned it into a rental.
Yes.
And, you know, took those financial leaps. And I've never been given a dime by my parents ever. So
Yeah.
I resonate with you, and I've had to do it all myself. And now I had great support system in the back, you know,
Yeah.
cheering me on. But children really do. They really push you to make those decisions and to be the best that you can be. I mean, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, and my whole entire life changed. I went from drinking in bars and making poor decisions and doing all of these things to like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Immediate change. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, they're God's gift. So
Yep.
that's what it is. And they change your life and turn you into something that you never dreamed you could be.
Everyone says that just wait, you'll never sleep again. Just wait, you'll never have this. You'll never have time to yourself. But nobody ever says, just wait, you will find this new ambition to provide for them, to love them, to give them things, like creating new traditions for them for Christmas and Easter and all of those things. Like nobody's like, just wait. It's each stage is so awesome and fun. I think every stage has gotten better
Yeah.
and better.
It's
And
so
I mean,
fun.
there's always
it is so fun.
alacrity,
And he's like our
but,
little best friend. And I'm just
you
like,
know.
more people need to talk about that
The good stuff.
selflessness and like that drive that it gives you as a married couple, but also like as an individual. Like
Yeah.
you want
Yep.
to see your children see you thriving and striving to be the best version of yourself.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
instead of just, focusing on the negatives of having the child, there's so
Yeah.
many more positives.
Oh,
the
yeah.
big negative I always hear is like identity, and how women say like my identity changed when I became a mother, and it is such a like there's such a negative vibe with it,
Mm-hmm.
which who knows what they're going through when there is a negative vibe. So no hate on that at all.
Right.
But like for me, my identity changed, and that was like the best part
Right.
to me.
Right,
Because
a good thing.
My identity changed, and like I became this person that I definitely would have never been had I not had children.
Yeah.
So.
And I think
See how much fun you have to look forward to, Mary?
I
It's
want
so
kids. I do
fun.
want kids.
Yeah.
But it's also picking the right spouse. Like most
Yes.
of a lot of
Yes.
my patients that postpartum depression, you get to the root of it and you're asking them questions. The spouse isn't helpful. Nobody's showing up for them from the family. They're not sleeping. That all plays a role. But like again, it goes back to picking the right spouse. Is like it dictates so much of your happiness and how you experience life. I had a wonderful pregnancy. He made me feel beautiful. I was not. I was large.
Yes, you were.
And like he genuinely constantly loved on me, made me feel beautiful. And then also was helpful. Like, let me get that. Don't do that. I'm going to do that. Or he got up with the baby in the middle of the night. And like, when you're picking a spouse who is going to be helpful for you in your dark times, like that is so huge. Do they have the capacity to be selfless? Like those things are just so important. In the middle of the night, we have had some words. But like at the end of the day, we still choose to like show up for each other. Like I'm still going to fold his laundry when I want to cut him. And he still pours me my coffee when he probably wants to cut me. But
Serving
Yeah.
each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just that teamwork
Yeah.
and like knowing that you can work with that person.
Yeah. We hear it every weekend. The
Right.
two become one.
Mhm.
And that's very true, because you can't function as individuals anymore.
Right.
No, you can't. You could try. You'll be miserable. You'll be miserable.
So where, obviously we talked about where you see the business going.
Yes.
And also you briefly talked about where you guys see your marriage going. How do you feel like you can continue to grow together? What strategy are you guys taking to do that?
I would guess just listening to each other. I was, for the most part, gung ho on partnering with this large corporation. I kind of looked at it as there's a lot of financial positives to the partnership. So I looked at it as not a way out, but almost a way out. And then again, over the months of talking and discussing it with each other, and realizing what we already have, I was like, all right, I think I was blinded. I was a little bit blinded by certain things. And then obviously listening to legal guidance and just continuing those conversations, I have never felt more at peace by the decision that we've made. And I think that's because we both just our overall attitudes, our overall discussions, were all in line with what we already knew God had planned. And so it just made everything so right.
I think
What's
too,
your opinion?
we prioritize traveling alone together. I think that, we are taking him to Disney in February.
Yep.
But like we just went to Italy and Paris together. We've made memories with each other that are super special. We love backpacking, and before we had a baby, we backpacked Utah and Costa Rica, and that was super important to us. So although it was so hard to leave him, and as a mother, I'm sure you can attest, like you're there, you miss your baby, and you're like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? But your marriage, you have to pay attention to it. And also, we kind of do this like recentering. We do it every day. We talk all day, whether it's text, phone calls. We listen to each other breathe back and forth. I'll be driving and like we're not even saying anything. I just listen to
They're
him
just
chase
there.
Lincoln
You just
around.
know him there.
Yeah.
He's there.
And we kind of get in bed at night and we're like, okay, we have a family calendar that we update to keep each other in the
Highly
loop.
recommend.
And we
Ooh,
look
is it
at like,
Skylight? Sorry.
no, it's the one on
No,
your iPhone.
It's just a
Oh,
it's
okay.
just a
I got a Skylight calendar.
Yeah,
Listen,
very
it is
cool.
so helpful. Like just for dumb things like dentist appointment, things like that. But just also like planning for the week, for the month. We try to look at our life like just as a whole. And we're like, where can you pick things up? Where can I pick things up?
Yeah.
What can we do to be helpful to one another? And he'll say, hey, I know tomorrow you have to be at the office early. I'm going to take care of Lincoln in the morning. You're going to do X. And just having that open communication. And I think too, like
and then just kind of doing it.
not having to wait to be prompted. Like I think as we've
Yeah.
gotten,
Proactive.
Yeah, I mean,
if you
we've-
see
yeah.
something needs done, my love language is acts of service. Like you could tell me you love me, but if you leave your socks on the floor and dishes in the sink, I don't believe it. His is words of affirmation. Like we speak each other's language. So like he's like, hey, I organized the garage for you. And I'm like, yes, I feel so loved. Like you're so sexy. And I'm like, send him a nice text telling him I'm proud of him during the day. And he feels so loved and so thankful. So I think figuring out each other's love language and speaking each other's language and having that communication and putting space for each other, I think is huge.
I agree.
And when you take care of each other in your marriage, everything benefits from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genuinely. But we definitely have some hard like boundaries like that we genuinely believe in. Like I probably would have a stroke if I saw him like a girl's picture because it would not happen. And like if I I don't have my own Instagram, but if I did and like some guy slid up in my DMs and I was like, hey, he would probably die. Like those are things we don't even have to talk about because it's like they're
set.
They're set.
Oh, yeah.
And so just having the understanding of like what are like your boundaries.
We have made each other feel safe.
Yeah.
That's very
And
important.
when there's
created that
safety and
safe
comfort,
environment.
you get the real person. When they're not living in like that fight or flight, you get their genuine, authentic self. You get the best version of them. You get the hardworking version of them. I mean, you see it a lot with people going through divorce. Like it brings out the crazy when you are like feeling unsafe and unloved. Like it makes you crazy.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Do you hope to see your kids follow in your footsteps from the business standpoint?
Right now, so we have a lot of nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
So the way that we have it set up, like if we were to like pass away, or I was to pass away, is like they would hire another injector, whatever, they'd keep the business going. And they would split it all evenly between all of them. However, I don't care if he ever wants to do anything with it. I genuinely think that he's going to grow up being very tolerant and accepting. Like guys that are like, I don't need to get lip filler. That's not going to be my baby. He's going to be, my dad gets Botox. Yes, get it, queen. Make yourself feel good about yourself. He comes in there and he loves the girls. He loves, like he will probably start getting facials when he's 10 years old.
My daughter's getting
I know. And like genuinely, he's very like metro, haircut every 2 weeks. He starches his jeans and irons his clothes. Like that's what Lincoln's going to grow up with. So I think he would accept the med spa like life and like love it. But whether or not he took it over,
Well,
I genuinely don't care.
I know. And that's now. That's now. That's now with Link. That's the immediate thought.
If we had a girl,
Not
that
that's
you
where
have to
I
be a
was
girl.
going.
Yeah.
no, if we had
Got a plan down.
Not that if like a guy can't own a med spa. There's
No,
tons
no.
of physicians that are men,
Yeah.
plastic surgeons, dermatologists, but also like, I want him to be happy. I don't care what he does for a living. I mean, a lot of his,
I want him to golf and
the only thing I don't want him to do is play football from like a medical
know,
standpoint,
I know.
like brain
Football
injury,
is
all of those
scary.
things.
Yeah.
Like we would love for him to do like something that he could take with him for life, like golf. Like you could golf
preferably
with business partners. You golf with your own dad. Something that's
Preferably
lifelong.
Dad. Yeah.
So like as long as he's happy, my biggest thing is like, I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to like talk about this here, but like, I just want him to be a good person. I want him to know Jesus. I want him to like just seek the things that are genuinely valuable. I don't care what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about my kids.
I just want him to be,
He's happy.
I want him to be just himself.
I just want him to be happy.
I just want him to love us and want to be with us.
And I
don't want
feel
him
as
to
though
leave us.
the example we're putting forth, that is the path. Now, remember, God gave us the will to choose, but He'll know that He always has mom and dad
Yeah.
to come back to, no matter what, and ultimately God. But yeah, no, I'm excited for the future. I mean,
It's fun
I
to think
always
about
tell,
what your kids will do.
Yeah,
It is.
It's really nice. To
I could
be
see
able
his
to be
little brain
excited
now.
for the
Like
future.
he's very mechanical. He stacks everything. He loves music. He's interested in animals, but like uninterested in cars, uninterested in like cartoons. Unless it's like singing, he doesn't want it. You can already see what his strengths kind of are. He doesn't talk hardly at all, but he can ride any little car. He can like open any door. He's very mechanical. So I'm like, maybe I'll
Figures
be
it
an
out.
engineer, but like work in a trade. I don't know.
He could
Yeah, I don't get
just
why,
want him to be happy.
why parents get all like tunnel visioned into like what their kid's gonna do. I think you're setting yourself up for misery
Yeah.
and disappointment.
I've just never had that mindset. So not at all.
What kind of advice would you give to someone that's, say, a freshman in college? Because I see that as, I don't think my little brother would hate me for saying this, but he just went through YSU and he changed his degree multiple times because he couldn't figure out the direction he wanted to go. What advice would you give to a freshman in high school on finding that path?
Well, I got this because I made the mistake of, getting a degree that didn't stand alone. Initially, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. You don't even know what that means. You don't know how hard that is. You don't know the self-sacrifice that means. People can tell you, oh, you're going to have to go to school for 10 years. You're going to have to, self-sacrifice and like not ever be home with your children. You don't know what that means until you're living it. And so making a decision like that is for a lot of people really daunting. And then you make it and it could be the wrong decision for you. I think get a degree that stands on its own, even if it's a 2-year degree, like for instance, become a medical assistant, work, make money, make connections, then go to nursing school or go be a physical therapist or something like that. Be able to support yourself and make a living that's substantial while you kind of finish your way is helpful because, then you don't have to wait 5-6 years to be making any type of living. The other thing is part of being successful is knowing what you're good at.
Yeah.
Going for some degree, like if you don't have a procedural type of personality, you don't like to do procedures, going to be an injector would be a terrible idea. But like maybe you're really into like the back end of things and you should be like a pathologist, knowing what you're good at. And I think a lot of people try to go for what's high paying or what they think is lucrative or what's going to make them the most money. And then they're miserable. Yep. They've spent all this time in a degree for 6 years, $100,000 of debt. And they're like, well, I'm here. I've done it. It's too late. And to go back to school would literally kill most people. We barely survived it the first time. And just doing it again and racking up that debt is not a possibility. So unless you start your own business and kind of go that direction, which comes with its own issues, you've kind of boxed yourself in. Yeah. Also picking something where there's room for growth. Because like, for instance, you're a nurse, but you could be a nurse practitioner. Yeah. You could be a nurse manager. You could be, a director of a unit. There's so many things that you can do versus,
medically speaking, right.
For just an example, but like some people pick something that like
a dead end.
Yeah. They're gonna, or like I have a friend that was a dental hygienist, and she's like, "This is it for me. That's it. I'm never gonna make more than X." So she went back to nursing school because she was like, there were more options for me. Yeah. So just if you're somebody that likes to be ambitious and like have growth, picking something that allows for that. You don't have to
grow with
it. You can start out and stay comfortable and pick what you initially started with, but like something that you could grow into.
Zach, do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, obviously, I went a different route. I did go.
He should have been in a trade school right from the rip.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of trying to do a traditional path where he knew his weaknesses, where he hates school, he hates reading, he does not like to be stuck in a chair at a desk. He was just trying to go the traditional route because I feel like our generation, that's what we did.
Yeah.
And then
Same
he was
situation.
miserable and was not doing well in it. And unfortunately, financially, it's not a great move. But had he gone to a trade school and started out making $40 an hour as an electrician, and then you could have, down the road, start your own company. Like those things happen. Yep. My sister's a perfect example. She was going to school for general studies at YSU, and she failed criminal justice. I don't even know how it's happened, Katie. I genuinely don't know how you failed that. But she hated it. She didn't know what she wanted to do. And then she goes to Kent, and she's like, I'm going to go be a pilot. And I'm like, you have to know about physics and wind vectors and
maps.
I was like, what?
And
graduated top of her class as the only female and is married to a fighter pilot and got her pilot's license. And it's just testament of when you are doing what
she wanted to do.
Yes. And what you're interested in. And now, they just came back from London. They spent 3 years there.
Oh,
and
wow.
they're a pilot family and they have a little airplane that goes around their Christmas tree. That's what
awesome.
they're interested in. And we were thinking, wow, you're going to do something harder and you're going to fail harder.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
For your little brother, tell him, do what
He needs
you
to
love.
know himself. You need to know yourself.
Yes.
And that's hard too,
Yes.
because I feel like I've lived 10 lives
Oh,
from just
yeah.
the
I know.
time I was
I know.
25 to 35.
Yep.
And now that I'm approaching 40, I'm like, ew. Who was I when we got married? That's hysterical. And
Yeah.
I was supposed to know what I know now at 19 years old. That is so crazy.
There's no way.
So just
And his senior year of high school was COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Even worse.
That's difficult.
And then your freshman year of college is all online.
that's so
Oh,
sad.
my
We even
goodness.
see that with
Yeah, that's
nurses
so
that are
difficult.
coming out now.
Yeah.
For 2 years, they were hardly even going into the hospitals because of COVID and all the things. And they thought they liked being a nurse. And now that they're out there doing the things, so many of them are so unhappy with their choice because they really didn't get a true idea of what nursing was.
Yeah.
But again, you could go be a school nurse. You could go work remotely. You could do home health. There's so many options just within that you're not boxed into. So that's good for most people that are kind of in the nursing realm, or you could work for Care Source or something from your home. But I think trades just for guys, if you're unsure, go do something that you like anything, HVAC, anything, because also that's so useful for your everyday life. How many houses have we had to make improvements on?
Yeah,
And
really.
he can do anything, genuinely.
Yeah.
He can install your dishwasher, hang any type of painting. He can literally fix anything. And that's such a skill. He built our coffee table because I was like, hey, Restoration Hardware, no way.
Yeah.
This price. And he literally built our coffee table. But I feel just picking something that can make you some money until you really figure out
Making
who you
smart
are.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Picking something that can support you financially until you really find out
What you
what
want.
you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you create through doing that other relationships and interests. So many people have influenced my journey that I've met along the way and have I'm wow, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I just
could do
feel like
that.
our high school education system just fails teenagers. I really do. Because I think back to it and it failed me so bad.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I had to go to college and I was just looking at these careers and what they made annually. And I was just scrolling through thinking that I was just going to pick something and
Yes.
being oh, I think I'd like that. But high school just never gave me the opportunity to get my hands on things and be oh, wow, I really like that.
Yeah.
Which is that's where small schools fail us, because I do think that larger schools give kids more opportunities and have a bunch of different things that they can try.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just nothing. I mean, it was the
Yeah.
basics when
Yeah.
I was in high school.
For our careers,
Yeah.
the three of us, you think about photography, marketing, social media, and then aesthetics, they were not a thing.
Yeah.
No.
They were not
True.
a thing. And if you weren't Robert Sun and doing portrait pictures,
Yeah.
who were you even?
Yeah.
Photography, as you guys have basically made it your
Evolved with
own
it.
and evolved, like
Very
is
true.
its own category now. Social media and marketing, like unless you worked for Pepsi or something like that, or like Nike, small businesses weren't hiring social media and marketing. It wasn't a thing. So like they have a lot more options now coming out, a lot more options for remote jobs. We were like, you either attorney, doctor, I don't know, or a trade. Like I really feel like there wasn't a whole lot of options.
No. And if you did think outside of the box, it did not, you could not support yourself on it.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty crazy. That's so crazy to just think about all of the new
100%.
jobs that have come up in the
Yeah.
past decade.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Tons of remote, which
Yeah.
is even more insane.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's online now.
Even
Everything.
like graphic design, like there's so much money in marketing, social media, graphic design, like just crazy. And
trying
like
to
that could
think.
be its own job in itself.
When I think I went to the mall, I can't remember what day it was. I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago. I went to the mall. I'm walking around and I'm like looking at all these stores, and there's so many dark stores. And I'm just like, this is so sad. Like when I was in high school, I would come to the mall, and
It's that
it
place
was
to be.
it was
Like the
place
food
to
court,
be.
yeah.
Like that's where you go and buy clothes, and like I went to look for shoes or some tennis shoes or something. And I'm like, all right, I just want to go get some black Nikes. And I could not find one pair of black Nikes anywhere. And I'm like, you can't even go to the store to buy what you want now. You have to do everything online. And I think that even though that's sad, it has opened a lot more opportunity with the different types of positions that you can take with companies because of so much online shopping.
Yeah.
You know, it's just things are evolving, things are changing. And even though it might seem sad to us, this generation coming up, they're like, yeah, this is the new us.
But is it good?
I know.
But is it good? Because that's the question that you have to
It's
ask.
like the internet's great because you could sell to 50 other states and get your brand out there. But if you have a brick and mortar, nobody from your town even walks in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
I
makes
know
it hard.
so many brick and mortars,
Yeah.
like clothing especially, I've seen fail.
Yeah.
And it's,
Well, because your
yeah.
overhead is way more than what you're bringing in. And like then shipping costs and all the things that come with that are just so extravagant anymore. It's the craziest thing. But I think part of that too is like picking your niche and having the best idea for it and like kind of making sure that you follow through. Like you've done that so well. I think one of your posts you posted, like a lot of people say photography is like not lucrative. You can't like succeed at it. And here you are like traveling the world, going to people's weddings and like crushing it because you found your niche, you fit yourself in, you have the subset and the perfect demographic to support that. And that's so huge. And you're good at it.
And it's the people you surround yourself with when all said and done.
Yeah.
Like to be able to buy into a coffee shop, I would never have had that opportunity if I didn't take that opportunity when he called me and asked if I would film his wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then took that time to always make sure I was with him every Wednesday at Steel Valley with him to help him sell raffle tickets.
Yeah.
To be able to continue to build that relationship
Yeah.
to where he'd offer me the opportunity to be a part of his company.
Right. Right.
And it's those people, especially around here, you find, I'm not sure you guys have found, it's the people you surround yourself with help you grow in so many different ways.
Yeah, I agree.
I call it like the 3 Bs. It's people beyond you, beside you, and people behind you. I live by that. It's like the people beyond you. It's the people you look up to. It's your mentors, whether they're in your industry or not. You never know what you can learn from them.
Yeah.
Or it's the people beside you in your own industry or in an industry, but they're at the similar level. They might have a different perspective. But then it's people behind you. It's people you bring on your team that might not have the most experience, but you're able to help them and help them grow. But they might bring a new perspective to the table that you never really thought of. That it's having those 3 things that help you become a better business owner and help you become a better person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, my best friend used to actually managed my Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and now they live next door to us, and their baby is our baby's best friend. But she was a sales rep. She sold a drug for gynecology, and I met her that way. And she was like, "Hey, I could totally help you." And like genuinely, she's been so supportive and so helpful, and she's definitely has that artistic eye. And like now she doesn't even do pharma. She does wealth management, and like that little blip in time where we became friends and she pushed me and helped me like is so helpful. Like, you know, she just had the Instagram knowledge. I couldn't even like, I cannot even edit a photo. Like I have never edited a photo and posted it on social media ever. I'm like, it is what it is. If I'm too white, I'm too white. If I'm too dark, I'm too dark. It's going on there. Like I have no concept. And she just is the opposite.
Yeah.
She's just, and she also loves like the trends and like the cutie, like reality TV. I don't even turn the TV on.
Yeah.
Like I don't even barely know how to work our remote. Like
you know how to get on Harry Potter.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's
There
it.
we
Harry
go.
Potter. Like that's what I watch on repeat because it's
Harry
mindless.
Potter,
It's comforting.
And what's your favorite show now?
Outlander.
Outlander.
Oh my God. You
I've
have to
heard
watch
good
it.
things.
It's
She's
the-
on her second round.
I've watched
there
it
you go.
once already and it's just as good the second time. But yeah, Mackenzie is reality TV. She is just knows every trend. She was like,
And crime documentaries.
yes, she's very, very good at, and she's beautiful and gorgeous and perfect. So like it fit the industry. So wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm so thankful for her.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're at
did.
hour 40, hour 50.
Oh,
Wow.
felt like
Look at
30
that.
minutes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's fun when you have good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy talking, like I said.
Uh-huh. Definitely. Anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing that I can think of, obviously.
I think we ought to do another
Just-
episode on getting the details of what kind of guidelines you go into how you do something in the health industry that you have to deal
Yeah.
with.
Well, we have a tattoo license because we do permanent makeup. Woof. We also had to have a tanning license because we have LED light for facials.
Yep.
Who knew? Like those things are wild. The pharmacy board for dispensing dangerous drugs. Like there's so much that goes into it, and it just is.
Constantly changing.
It is, and that's where like just having the money to like pay an attorney, paying somebody to figure out that information because you don't know what you don't know, and that is used to give me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
So
I
much
can
anxiety because you're grappling with being good at like the procedural side of things and like you worry about the other stuff like did I
She
file
was
that with the
always
city
so
did I
worried. Oh
you know
my gosh.
it's
I
just a lot.
understand.
But you're dealing with people. And,
Yeah.
and injecting them.
Yeah.
That there's so much that goes into
Well,
that.
and part of our industry too, right, is these people have high expectations. They're paying
Yeah.
a lot of money, but we also deal with body dysmorphia, people that are unrealistic, that want to look like a celebrity when that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So you learn your boundaries, you learn as a provider who to say no to. They're still mad at you.
Yeah.
I try to go with the theory that it's better to be hated for what you don't do than what you do.
Yeah,
But still,
absolutely.
that's hard from a business owner standpoint. Like you want to make everyone happy.
Yeah.
It's impossible. But like you get the people that are disgruntled that like are upset with you.
Yeah.
So like I said, I hope my review is like, well, she wouldn't do what I wanted her to do. Thank you. Anyone reading that would be like, okay, that's logical. Versus she made my lips look like a blow up doll. Like
Yeah.
that's not the goal. So I think that from a medical standpoint, there's a lot of gray area. And that's where I think people get themselves into trouble. They try to operate in that gray area. For me, it's right and wrong, black and white. That's it. But I would love to be helpful. I have lots of
I'm sure that's another 2
don'ts.
hours.
Lots of
Lots of
knowledge.
don'ts
Yeah.
and a lot of do's.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of knowledge.
You guys have shared so many good quotes with us, but if you have another that you would like to share, let's wrap it up with that.
Favorite quote or favorite thing you live by?
Yeah.
Man.
Well, now that you like say it, it's
I
so
know.
hard.
Now, yeah, I know it's difficult.
Putting you on the spot.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, I say it all the time to the girls at work. Like, if you want to change the world, start at home. I think that like a
I
lot
like
of
it.
people have big aspirations, big goals, things like that. But then if you mess up that hierarchy, everything crumbles. You start putting things forward that aren't meant to be that way,
I
and
love it, babe.
things crumble.
Yeah. Start at home.
That ties in pretty much everything we talked about.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Start at home.
If you start to feel the shift, if you feel that work is controlling your life, redirect. Like, get yourself back to where you should be.
Yeah.
I love it.
There we go.
Yeah, you said. I second that.
I second that.
There we go.
Can I get a motion to second that?
Yes.
Oh, guys, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Yes,
we
thanks
really
for having
appreciate
us.
it.
Thank
I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
I
so
did too.
fun.
Yes, thank you
Good,
guys for
I'm
bringing
glad.
your perspective to the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your story, your relationship advice,
Mm-hmm.
business advice, a little bit everything.
Yeah. I wish you guys nothing but
Oh, thank you.
I'm
the
going to keep
best
an
with-
eye out.
with everything.
Now that I kind of know what
I know.
your goals are, I'll keep an eye out. I see a lot.
All right.
You still
lot of
got to do a
people.
little bit of work, okay?
Oh, I know.
I'm gonna need you to say a
I'm
couple
trying.
prayers, okay?
I'm trying.
Also, letting go of your type. Like,
Yeah,
I definitely had
yeah.
a type. He had a type. It was not working for us.
No,
Yeah.
she always says that she would have never went for me. Like if she found me at a bar or something, she would have never went for me. Not because of the place I was at, but just me in general. I was 135 pounds when we first got married,
I was
but
a little skinny guy.
I wasn't her type. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I don't know if I ever really had a type. I mean, you were beautiful and I liked you, so it was
I feel
good.
like guys never really have a type.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, but
Maybe.
the way you kind of like formulate your thought process around women, and if you're being ultra picky, like let some things slide. Like take it easy. Enjoy it. Don't let it be a task. Enjoy it.
I was a little
This
like
is good.
little neurotic. I think like initially for sure.
it.
I was a little neurotic and like definitely had a sharp tongue and like I'm witty, so like that can be toxic and horrible.
Yeah.
And I remember
but we built together. We just
did.
worked together.
I remember asking you like, "Oh, is it love at first sight?" Like that's why you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get married and have kids," and you were like, "No, I just knew you were a good person and like I could build with you and grow with you." And I was like, "Wait, so you didn't think I was the most beautiful person you
Yeah,
ever
you
laid
didn't think
eyes
I
on?"
was perfect?
And he goes, "If I said that, then that would mean that the basis of our relationship would be on physical appearance and not on what you are on the inside." And that is what I loved about you. And yes, did I think you were attractive? But that was not the basis of why I wanted a relationship with you. And at first I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it should be love at first sight. You should know I was your soulmate. But looking at it with the wisdom that I have now, I'm like, that was way more mature than I was probably ready for.
What was
I
it?
was like,
What
that
was it?
why
answer
do
sucked.
women have that
Third date.
automatic
Yeah.
notation to think that way? Because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
why do we think that love is like dreamy, I guess.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, women love chaos. They mistake
True.
chaos for passion and
Yeah.
boredom with comfort. And I think that a lot of women function in that chaotic.
What was it? The second or third date when I took you over to see my parents?
And I
You were
was like,
sitting in
I'm
the
not
car.
going in there unless
No, you
we-
were like, so are we a thing?
like, don't take me in to see your
Or-
parents unless you're like,
I'm bringing you to see
This
my
is
mom
weird
and
for
dad.
me. Like,
Yeah.
Ask me to be your girlfriend.
yeah. I was like, this is bizarre. And he's
Like,
like,
great, you want to be
do-
my girlfriend?
he's like, do people ask people that? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like crazy.
Yeah.
But
No, seriously, take the tasks out of it, man. I really think that there's someone for you, and it might not be who you think it is. And take the tasks out of it, and you'll be able to see you'll be able to get your answers.
yeah.
Honestly,
To be continued.
to be continued.
Next time you're going to be.
We will have a second episode with you guys
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it happens, when Liam finds a girlfriend, and we'll just get
I'm
the tea
looking
on
forward
it.
to it. I already said one prayer during this whole entire
all
podcast,
right,
so
there
I
we
got
go.
your back.
Thanks,
all right.
man.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Awesome. Well, there
No.
we go.
I enjoyed
That's
it.
a good way to end it there.
So
That's a
funny.
wrap.
I love it.